Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jim Welsh, and I am joined today by Garrett Fuller with Foundation Software and Dylan Fisher from McCormick Systems. And what we're going to do today is just start with a real high-level overview of the different offerings we have, the different products we have. We'll kind of start at the beginning with estimating. So I'll kind of let Dylan here start for us and kind of go through the estimating, take you to where that's going to be awarded as a project, and then get into the accounting side of things with Garrett Fuller and job costing, and then I'll wrap things up with our standalone payroll service. So if anyone has questions, unfortunately today is a listen-only broadcast, but you're more than welcome to type them into the questions bar there on the GoToWebinar, and then we will address those as they come, or we'll make sure we address them right at the very end here. And then if anybody does want to see, live demonstrations, we'll present our contact information at the end. Obviously today with a wide audience out there, we got to keep it, at the 10,000 foot overview, but we're always more than happy to do one-on-one demonstrations of any of our products and dig deeper. So with that, Dylan, I'm going to go ahead and allow you to share your screen, and then you can jump in.
Thank you, Jim. All right, are you seeing my screen now, Jim?
No, it looks like I might have given it because they're both listed in here as Garrett. So let me try this other one.
There we go.
There you are.
Okay, perfect. All right, thanks again, Jim. So again, my name is Dylan Fisher. I'm one of the regional sales managers here at McCormick Systems. McCormick Systems, we've been with Foundation Software for going on 2 years now. Of course, we have integration with all of the Foundation Software products. Obviously, today I'm speaking specifically about the estimating and takeoff process. This is where it all begins. McCormick's been in the estimating and takeoff software business for 43 years now, so we've got a very good handle on it. We do cater specifically to the specialty trades, plumbing, mechanical, and electrical. So today I have the electrical database loaded up, but it is the same software. Either way, it's just a difference in materials. So I'm going to take you through the 5-step process in McCormick. You'll see the buttons here at the top, steps 1 through 5. I'm going to just touch on each one of them. Obviously, this is high level. We have a short amount of time together today, but certainly encourage all of you to reach out if you're interested in learning more. There's quite a bit that the software can do for you, but I really want to give you the big picture in terms of how we speed up the estimating and takeoff process and make you more efficient and more consistent. So this is what we call the job screen here. This is just where I can come back to jobs, open them up, review them, make changes to them, or start a new job. So here's a job that's got a bit of a start to it. It's in process. This is what we call the job information screen. And this is the first step of McCormick. So number 1, jobs, we're just naming the job here. We're typing in details in terms of phone numbers, emails, addresses. It is optional, but it does populate into the reports and into the proposals at the end. At the bottom, this is where we add the digital plans. This is one of the things that makes McCormick stand out in terms of other options out there. We're a true all-in-one estimating and takeoff solution. Rather than 2 separate programs that you have to link together. So the digital plans, they're added right to the job folder here. On the left side, just an example, you can organize sheets into folders. To add a new folder, we just right click. Maybe I'm coming back to add some revisions, some changes, and I want to keep those separate from the originals. So obviously we can name the folders whatever we want. To add the actual drawings, we just hit the add drawings button here. That opens up the computer storage. So I just need to find the plans on my computer, on my network, wherever I happen to have them saved. I can select a single file or several files and hit open. McCormick will put the plans into a preview mode. Oftentimes you'll receive a single file. It's a combined set of prints. This just separates the file into individual sheets and allows you to preview them. You can, I can just choose the sheets I want. So I'll select a couple of these here. I'm gonna use the import selected option. If I wanted all of them, I would use the import all option. So these plans are attached to the job folder now. They're copied in. It's not like a link to the computer or wherever I pulled the plans from. They're copied into the job folder. They're here forever. Now, another thing I want to mention is that McCormick is cloud-based. This gives you access to the software from anywhere. It's also a true multi-user, a true network system. So if you do have multiple users, you can have multiple users working inside the same job at the same time. All right, so that's it for the first step. The next step is what we call labels, and we call it labels because all we're doing here is labeling. And the first column here, each label is representing a separate price. So in this example, I have a base bid and I'm providing an option or an alternate. So it's a separate price. As an example, I've come back to do a few change orders. Maybe I'm coming back to work on change order 5. Okay, so it all starts here with the label. As simple as this seems, this is in many ways unique to McCormick, the ability to create and manage multiple prices within one job folder. Certainly the ability to come back and handle the change orders within the same job folder, that's very unique to McCormick. So each label here in the first column will work through the rest of the 5-step process the same way. We're going to end up with a base bid, an option, and 5 change orders in the bid summary. Beyond that, each column is a subset of the previous. These, again, this is an example job. These are the breakouts I want for the job. McCormick can give you very detailed reports. We can give you a material list for each area, for each system within each area. So again, this is an example. I do have 5 columns to work with here. I'm only using 3, but it's totally up to you, job to job. How much detail do you need? All right, so we can always go back and add more labels if we need to, but I'm moving on to step 3, takeoff now. The labels that we just talked about, they now appear at the top of the takeoff screen as a drop-down. So the label shown at the top is what we call the active label set. I'm actively working on Office A Power. Down here at the bottom, we call this the audit trail. This is like our receipt in takeoff. It just records everything we do. So there's already some takeoff done for Office A Power. I'm going to switch to a different area here. It's just a drop down. I'm going to start working on Office B. You'll see I have a fresh audit trail here. Now there's a couple ways to account for material. One way to do it is what we call manual entry takeoff. So if for some reason you don't have digital plans, we can always come in here and just punch in numbers. The other way, of course, is doing the takeoff on the digital plan. I want to talk about database for a moment here. This is a big part of the software. We have a pre-built database with thousands of items and assemblies, built-in material pricing, built-in labor. At the bottom of this database screen here, this is where we're going to find our parts. These first 2 tabs toggle between the items database and the assemblies database. So I'm going to start with an item. This is how we navigate the database. We start with a general category here. As we work through the columns, it narrows down the search. I want wire, I want copper, stranded, THHN. As soon as I select the last option in the menu, that will take me to that section of the database. So now I'm just choosing the size I want. I want number 12 wire. And as soon as I select the part, whether it's an item or an assembly, the part turns blue showing it's active. If I'm doing manual entry takeoff, I don't have a digital plan, I just key in the number on my keyboard. I typed in 100, and then when I hit enter, it shows up in the audit trail. So that's basic manual entry takeoff. I'm going to review the item for you and talk about the information built in. This is the meat and potatoes behind an estimating program, built-in material pricing, built-in labor hours. You'll see here we start you off with 4 levels of material cost and 6 levels of labor. McCormick has 3 levels of labor: bid labor, change order 1, and change order 2. And then we have the 3 levels of NECA built in as well. Now, we're not picking anything here in takeoff. We're not even paying attention to this. It's built into the parts. When I go to the next step, after I'm done accounting for material here in takeoff, I can extend my takeoff by whichever combination of price and labor I want. And the purpose of having different levels is for different scenarios. On my base bid, I'm going to use best price and best labor. When I come back to do a change order, I might want to hide some markup into my units. I might use price 2 and change order 2 on that. So again, in the next step, we can choose any combination of price and labor we want. Okay, next I'm going to talk about an assembly. An assembly is just a group of items. This is where we start to pick up speed in an estimating program. Same process to navigate the assemblies database. I want a device, standard grade device. I want a receptacle. Here's my list of standard grade receptacle assemblies. I want the 20 amp duplex. Again, as soon as I select the part, it turns blue, it's active, it's ready to be taken off. If I open up the side window on an assembly, it'll show the list of items that makes up the assembly. If I were doing manual entry takeoff, I would just type in the number and hit enter. I took off 10 of these 20 amp duplex assemblies. I got 10 of each of these items all in one shot. So price and labor is built into every part. I'm now just getting a bunch of parts at the same time. All of the assemblies are customizable to you, and you can add as much as you want to it. It is an unlimited database. So that's it for basic manual entry takeoff. That's a quick overview of what's happening here on the estimating side of things. I'm going to go ahead and open up the Design Estimating Pro. That's just our name for our on-screen takeoff program. This is where I'm going to choose a sheet. So I added plans at the beginning. They're all sitting here waiting for me in takeoff. So I'll select a sheet. The first time I open up a sheet, I need to set a scale on it before I can do any takeoff. I'm just going to pick from the drop-down list here. The plan came with a scale of 1/8 = 1. So I'm ready to do some takeoff. If you look in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, you'll see there's an active assembly. Assembly number 15,959, duplex 20 amp standard. That assembly is active because that's what I have selected here in the estimating program. So I showed you that you could punch a number into the system. We call that manual entry takeoff. In fact, the audit trail even shows me that these quantities were punched into the system. This is who took it off, when they took it off, and how they took it off. We're finding the parts the same way for the on-screen takeoff. We're selecting the parts the same way. The only difference is we're not typing in a quantity, we're clicking on a plan. So with each click, I'm leaving a mark behind. We've already given everything in the system a default symbol, color, and size, so it's ready to be taken off without any setup. But of course, that's customizable too as well. The main point I want to drive home here is if it's marked on the plan, it's estimated. Each one of these blue circles here represents this assembly that I selected from my estimating program. Again, price and labor is built into every part. So if it's marked on the drawing, it's estimated. You'll see the count shows up in my audit trail the same way as when I punched in the quantities, only this is coming, from the plan based on the marks I leave behind. So that's basic counting. I'll show you linear takeoff next. For linear takeoff, I'm going to select a branch assembly. Here I'm choosing what type of pipe I want. I want EMT. Fittings and install options here. Steel set screw with the strap. I want number 12 wire. In the database, I'm just going to choose the amount, the amount of wires. I want 3. And of course, once again, the side window is open, showing me, hey, you're getting everything you need here. Pipe, wire, couplings, connectors, straps, screws, washers. It's all here. So for linear takeoff, we're not spotting and dotting, we're drawing lines. There's 2 major settings. There's a single line setting, which is 1 click to start the run and 1 click to end. There's a connected line setting, which is 1 click to start the run, 1 click to change directions, and 2 clicks to finish the run. We can also account for vertical values. Obviously, the green line represents the horizontal measurement. We can right click and add drops after the fact. So all I do is say, hey, I want to drop at the start, at the end, both sides, or here where I clicked. I'll just ask for one at the end at the panel. The system will default to 8 feet. Now, if you want something different there, you can change it right here. You can also override the system default of 8 feet to whatever you want. We can also get the vertical values automatically. We have an auto start and an auto end option here. So with those turned on, it's going to give me the verticals on either side automatically. And that's just one, in fact, probably the most basic automated features in the takeoff portion of McCormick. We have many, so I'll just mention them again. Don't have enough time to go through all of them, so auto count. We can find symbols for you if you have a bunch of the same outlets or fixtures. We can scan the plan and help you out with the counts. We have a patented feature called auto home runs, exclusive to McCormick. So rather than me drawing these home runs here, I can create the conditions for auto home run. Essentially, we just establish an endpoint, and then we just go and point and click wherever we want to start it, and it draws it for me. So we also have design build capabilities, also pretty unique to McCormick. We can design and estimate at the same time. Essentially, the same thing we're doing here, except for we're working on a blank floor plan. There's the electrical is not engineered. We're going to go in and put the outlets and switches in. Again, another unique McCormick feature. I'm going to go ahead and move on through the next couple of steps here. Extension is a result of everything we did in takeoff. So we're going to spit out an itemized list of material. Every single piece of material we need for the job, down to the wire nuts, screws, and washers. So this is the complete list of material, the total quantity of the material here. I'm extending by price, one, and bid labor. That's what my system defaults to. If I wanted a different combination of price and labor, I could choose that from the drop-down list here. Also, all of these reports are printable and exportable. So I can just go to File Print, File Export, if I want this information outside of McCormick. Quantity times the price here, the material price here gives me extended price. This is my total material cost at the top, and then totals for each line item. And then quantity times bid labor gives me the bid labor extension. These are the total hours, 821 hours, and then totals for each line item. There's a lot we can do here in terms of reporting. I can look at cost code breakdowns. I can look at my area breakdowns, system breakdowns. I can look at cost code breakdowns within those breakdowns. So quite a bit of detail we can give you here. We also have the ability to make changes here. Some people like to spot check and they might make some edits here. Any edits you make here in extension will turn bold, showing you addressed it, and then it recalculates based on the change. From here, we're just sending totals to the fifth and final step, the bid summary. And this is where we complete the job. So this is what I sent here, material cost and hours. We're focused on the top sheet here. These are the job cost categories. There's a folder for each category down at the bottom. So I'm going to go to the labor tab here. This is where I'm going to assign my labor rates to the labor hours. So McCormick figured out the hours for me. Now I'm picking from my list of rates here on the left side. Obviously, you're not going to use my list. This is one of the few things you need to set up in the system for yourself. So you just pick the ones you want, push them over to the right, and then we can assign hours to each rate here or a percentage of the hours here. I'll just do 50-50, 50% to the foreman rate, 50% to the journeyman rate. Again, this part's up to you. Some people might just use an average or blended rate and assign that to all the hours, totally up to you. On the right side here, we're gonna show the total labor cost for each rate and the hours assigned to it. Bottom right is the total labor cost for the job. That's gonna show up automatically in the top sheet. Now, I'm just going to talk about the rest of the categories here. There's a folder for each of these categories. The rest of the folders are just punch-ins. So we can punch in quoted material dollars as a lump sum, things like fixtures and switchgear, subcontractor expenses, direct job expenses, things like permits and fees, equipment costs. So we're going to account for all of those expenses, and then the totals are going to be displayed here on the top sheet. From here, we can mark up each category individually, or we can blanket the whole job with the same markup. So if I wanted, 10% overhead on the material, and I wanted 12% profit on top of that, in that example, I'm marking up material by itself. I might mark up each one of these categories differently. Or again, if I want the same markup on all categories, there is a way to do that. That's what these cells are used for down here. I'm going to put 10% overhead on all categories, 12% profit. So we'll show the dollars next to the markup for each job cost category, and then on the right we're totaling everything up. So all of my job cost is totaled up here for the raw cost. Here's the tax, and then the raw cost with tax. Essentially, this is what I'm paying to do the job. And then here's the total overhead. So all of these amounts totaled up on the right here, and then here's the total profit, total return in dollars. So this is just the overhead and profit combined. Total return percent, here's the price, the bond's at 0, so here's my sell price without bond. We also generate an automatic proposal. This is pretty neat. I'll just give you a quick sample of this. These proposals can look however you want them to look. We do start you off with some examples that you can customize and make your own. You could also build your own from scratch. They can really look however you want them to look in terms of format and design and layout and verbiage. Here's my bid proposal template. Now that I've selected it, I'm going to hit merge. This is just asking me what price or prices do I want to pull in. I'm pulling in the base bid. And then when I hit OK, all of the fields populate. So that's my quick run through on the McCormick estimating and takeoff process. Again, all in one solution, plan to proposal. If there's any questions, I'll keep an eye out for those at the end here. I'll obviously reach out anytime if you have questions, if you'd like to learn more. We'd love to schedule an online demonstration with you where we spend usually about an hour to an hour and a half with you going through the program.
Excellent. Thanks, Dylan. Appreciate the help. Everybody, this is Garrett Fuller on the foundation side. So a nice segue there, right? We get our estimating in place, and since obviously we're in the same partnership, we'd be pulling that estimate directly into foundation. Now, saying that at a very high level, we're a construction accounting piece, right? So we do a lot of replacements for, say, QuickBooks or something off the shelf. The other half of companies that come to us are maybe around an older construction accounting system, maybe just not being updated, or maybe the support really isn't there. But we get a lot of small to mid-sized contractors, both specialties, general contractors, and we'll cover a lot of the classics today. Now, we do a lot more than what we're going to touch on. So as you're all aware, it's meant to be a brief big picture, kind of touch on some high points to say, like, hey, is this something that would help us out? And then obviously we could dive into one-on-one demonstrations, of course. So the very top, that's again the classics. That's going to replace any core accounting system, but then also give all the construction specific features. And we're going to talk about that. Things like job costing, committed cost management, managing change orders, lien waivers, 1099s. Payroll's huge for a lot of our clients, certified payroll, union payroll. Now there's a middle section of our software that brings together these other elements. We have a lot of companies that do civil construction, where they might need equipment. We've got a lot of companies that have manage an inventory in-house. We've got a lot of companies that maybe do construction and service work, and maybe they want to incorporate our service dispatch module for that division of their company. Project management's a huge piece. We have a full additional solution to manage, I guess, more deep on the PM level, not just job costing and say, POs and change orders, but bringing in RFIs, submittals, transmittals, meeting minutes, daily logs, contact management. Again, trying to encompass as much as we can for a small to mid-sized contractor, so we can bring everything in one system. So to jump into things here, I'm going to start with job costing, and I'm going to go ahead into our dashboard tool. Now, I always want to mention that everything's security driven, right? So anybody who uses our software, they're going to decide who can get in the program, of course, and what that person can see and do. Maybe I'm a project manager and these are just my projects. That's all I can see. And in that case, maybe I wouldn't have access to some of the financial data or cash management. So again, it's all relative to the user and what their accessibility is. Another point I like to make really quick is we do have a built-in report writer, and we do have a built-in form designer. They're drop and drag, really a pretty intuitive tool to use. I'm not saying there's not a learning curve on a new system, of course there is, but the report writer, for example, is a very easy tool to build, say, custom job reports. So as I start to poke through some here, just keep that in the back of your head that you don't have to live with exactly what's there. Now, from a big picture, we're showing here just the basics, very high level. What have I billed on these projects that are active? What are our estimated and actual cost? And the goal is, from this summary mode where I'm seeing kind of the health of the company, cash flow, what's our financials look like right now? I just start to drill down where I want to see more information. Now I'm just going to do a general drill down, and it's the same information, right? We're seeing our estimated profit on these jobs, our actual profit. Anything blue indicates a drill down. It's all alphanumeric, jobs, vendors, customers. That's information that we traditionally import over from other products, QuickBooks or other, older solutions. But yeah, if we see a job that we want to look at further, we click it, and it's going to take us to a summary page. Now, I always tell people as well, you don't have to start in this summary mode. You can run any of your favorite job cost reports. There's preloaded, probably about 40 preloaded cost reports. Some are super detailed and granular. Some are very basic and high level like this, where I can start to drill in from there. So on this project, we're seeing our current profit. Here's our contract summary. We've got our initial contract, our change orders that are approved, total contract value. We're showing a snapshot of our committed costs, any purchase orders that we've issued, potential subcontracts that we've issued, what we've been billed on those. The system does a great job of managing those commitments, making sure you're not overbilled, right? So if we get to accounts payable, we can attach a purchase order or subcontract to the invoice, again, preventing us to be overbilled, or at least warning us, depending on what our preference is. Now, this job roughly sits at about $200,000 right now in cost. So if I click that detail link for the job cost, this is where we can start to get into some of the item breakdown. Now, this varies quite a bit from company to company. Obviously, if it's an electrical company versus a civil contractor, for example, their cost categories are going to be different. And we do have quite a few companies that are not using cost codes. They might just track the core cost types like labor, material, subs, equipment, etc. Where a lot of companies like my sample, I'm tracking the various categories on a job, which again, we can pull over from estimating, right? We would sync that data from McCormick, and we would be able to see, like in this case, as our payroll is being done, AP, we see the estimated versus actual. We could drill down and see of that $19,000 for that activity, roughly $4,000 was labor, a couple thousand in material, subcontract cost, potentially equipment, burden. Now, burden, that is your actual burden from payroll. Your company's share of the FICA, the FUTA, the SUTA, workers' comp, fringes, general liability insurance. So again, you're getting a full loaded value there from that. Now, even though I'm showing cost codes here and just kind of clicking through those, you can run reports, of course, with just total cost, total revenue, or maybe just total labor, total materials. That should be the easy part, getting this data out, hopefully the way that helps you, run your jobs and run your business. You can keep going. You can drill into the time card detail. You can drill into, where this material cost come from. You click it. It's going to show those individual invoices from AP in this case, the vendor. A lot of our clients attach images to go paperless, not just in AP, but throughout the system. So, you can, add documents, pictures, PDFs, load those into the system. And then the idea, of course, is kind of naturally drill down to those documents when we need to take a peek at those. So again, up front, just pointing out, just the classics of job costing and what we have to offer. There's, as I said, about 40, maybe 50 job cost reports in the system. We'll look at a few others. There's change order management as I quickly hop over some of these tabs. Again, we can see where the job started with its initial contract, change orders that are approved. There's our updated revised contract total. So once these change orders are marked approved, right, that's going to move that number up, not the pending or rejected. And actually, some reports just show that total revised number. In fact, if I head over to this financial summary for the people that would have access to that data, we have a WIP report summary on the side here, an over under billing schedule. And so here's more of the traditional WIP report or bonding report, which, as noted, just shows a revised contract and estimated cost. So that's indicating that it includes those approved change orders in those values. But another traditional report that a lot of people have to do in Excel and kind of manually update, it's just kind of, it's naturally there. It's ready to go along with any of these other reports because we're doing all the day-to-day and it's all feeding through to the job cost module. There's cash management, there's job cash flow reporting, obviously open payables, receivables. Now notice even here on this open AR report, I can see data by customer, I can see open invoices by job. So obviously, since it's all construction specific, we can run all these reports, not just by customer or vendor, right, but by job. See retainage broken out. We hold retainage properly when we need to, release retainage, track that properly in our financials as well, on our balance sheet. So while I was just poking through that dashboard, there's reports in every module, right? There's a large group. And if I scroll really quick into this report writer, which is part of the base system, kind of visually, I can build custom financials if I want to, custom job reports again, if I want to, and I can edit existing reports that we have, or do what I'm doing right now and just kind of drop and drag and pull over information that maybe I want to include on a report. Maybe I want to pull over, of course, job. Do I want to see the original estimate of the job? Sure. Do I want to see the change orders to the estimated cost? Maybe. Then the grand total estimated cost, maybe our actual cost to date. There's hours, right, for estimated and actual. There's committed cost, quantities, income, cash receipts, change orders, formulas. So, we'll just do a quick variance. And obviously, this is super important on a lot of these reports that you can build your own formulas and as many as you want so I can get the output that I'm looking for. Now, we, of course, have a lot of reports that show a variance cost. That's just kind of a silly example, but just kind of quickly giving you a visual that, hey, it's really not hard for an average user to take control of this and build, say, a custom report with or without our help. Now, if we go to a job record, right, we see how that all funnels, right? The job reports collect all that data. Now, that's obviously getting pushed in from the payroll and AP and billings. Now, for just a couple minutes, I'm just going to pull up a quick job. Now, the information for our budget can pull over, right? That would sync in from McCormick. It's, that seamless transition. But I wanted to point out a few key fields. When we look at data in the system, say job reports, I can run job cost reports by job. I can run them by customer. I can run them by project manager. That also might establish PM security, where like Jeff Baines can only see his projects. Location, if we want to track jobs by an area, job class, we call it a project class. So, is it a retail job? Is it a tenant improvement? Is it a parking lot, a hospital? You come up with any categories you want that, again, give you the data pulled out the way that you want. And I can also run financials by any of these variables as well. Now, Jim, when we get to the payroll service discussion here in a minute, he's going to talk more about the payroll and the service that we provide, and paying your taxes and doing your W-2s and that. But initially, you're just pointing out, right, we can tag the job as a certified payroll job, and the job will trigger our pay rates. And that's a huge thing, and it goes much deeper than that, right? So if we put a time card in just as a quick sample, it'll automate that, and Jim's going to walk through that. I'll actually let him handle that side of it. Now, at the end of the day, as payroll's processed, which we're going to see, that's feeding GL, it's feeding job costing with that labor, the labor dollars, the labor hours, the burden. We're getting our certified payroll reports, right? Printed and electronic. We're getting union reports. So again, for companies that are using our software just in itself, they can run their payroll in-house. Of course, that's all available for you. But a lot of companies find the benefit of just having us taking control of that side of it, and it's all one seamless tool. Now, for a couple other quick items, just for the basics, we'll look at committed cost. So if we wanted to track purchase orders and subcontracts, great. Right, and at the end of the day, there's three big items that we're going to be helping with committed cost. One is sending out a purchase order or subcontract for work. Seeing these reports here real time, where I can see, for example, this is a sub. We've issued a subcontract. There's the amount of that PO or sub. There's how much we were billed. This is what's remaining. And again, a lot of job cost reports will reflect, say, that remaining committed cost. I can see what the actual costs are, and I can see what's sitting out there, lingering that I haven't been billed for yet. Now, purchase orders can be done in detail. They can be done in summary mode, and you're choosing here what it is, a PO or a sub. I'm just going to pull up a quick basic, well, not a basic one. This one is actually detailed. So this is a purchase order that I actually, broken down items on it. You can have a database of items. You can pick from a list, type ahead. You can type in items on the fly. Forms are customizable. So this is one I must have updated at some point with a logo. We do preload templates, but again, whether it's a purchase order, AIA billing, an invoice in general, customer statement, that can all be customized, but you can use standard templates right off the bat. So with those commitments, if I head over to AP and put an invoice in, AP entry, I'd like to say is pretty straightforward. obviously there's unique things that can come up, but if I attach a purchase order here, right, or a subcontract, it's going to make sure again that we're not overbilled by that value. And in fact, just by putting in an invoice number and a date, it knows already what hasn't been billed on that purchase order. So that was a $10,000 PO. Now, if I put an invoice in right now for $4,000, well, it knows only 6,000 is remaining the next time I get billed from that vendor. But it would stop me here, or at least warn me, depending on my preference, if I am overbilled, right? Saying, hey, you can't do that. And maybe I have to go check out what's going on or have somebody else review it, or maybe it needs a change order. But for basic, AP entry, whether or not I have a PO or sub attached, of course, we can put in just office, invoices for general office expenses that are not job related. But on the flip side, I can have an invoice coded to multiple jobs and cost categories as well. If you want to attach images, those can be routed for approval as well. So if I hit import image, that's going to pull in the scanned copy of that invoice. So the idea is you've received those digitally, on an email from your vendors, and maybe saved them to a folder. So that's a folder what we're going to work off of as an AP person when I go do my next entry for AP. Or I took hard copies and scanned them and saved them to that folder. But that folder's where we're seeing the invoices that we need to enter. So I'm pulling one in. Quite often our clients are going to be looking at that on another monitor while they're entering it. But at the same time, it's now sticking that invoice into our software, and it's stored there forever long term. That's how I'm able to see it later on, drill down, pull it up. But that's also potentially going to route for approval. Maybe this is going to Jeff because that's his job. So for our clients that route for approval, on certain transactions, it will be automated. It knows who to go to. It's going to notify that user that, hey, you've got things waiting out there for approval. And then they can pop in, see a list of their pending invoices, and you can pin these windows, to your preference of layout and everything. But basic concept, we get the invoice as an approver. I go through the list, make sure that they're coded properly. Did they get put to the right cost distribution? And if not, they can potentially revise it before it's committed to the software. Obviously, you can cut checks. There's lien waivers, 1099s, sales and use tax. From a billing perspective, and I know I'm going quick, I'd like to say any type of construction billing deployment we have. In a classic sense, we've got progress billings or AIAs, just basic standard contract invoices, lump sum or small itemized invoices. Large T&M billings. We have a full T&M module that helps automate any of those cost plus situations. We've got a unit price billing module for people that do progress billings on a quantity complete basis, like a civil contractor or DOT company. So this is my schedule of values, and I'm going to wrap up here and transfer things over to Jim to talk about payroll. But I'm on app 1. I just put a % complete in. We're going to hold our retainage at 10% on that job, and we can release that at the end of the job or do a partial release halfway through the job as an example. But we of course have the standard formats built in. We do have the option to do custom invoice templates as well. But it's great. It just keeps rolling over, where I don't have to go into a spreadsheet and manually maintain those progress billings as things progress. But as noted, there are additional modules here for more needs on project management, equipment, inventory. All of the data that we're feeding into the base modules are, of course, going into general ledger and job costing when it's job related, right? I'm obviously can do financials. We get a large number of referrals from CPA firms in the market. So from a pure classic accounting standpoint, we're still doing a great job with audit trails and there's bank reconciliations, journal entries. You're not losing that type of capability. Saying that, there's a lot, obviously, typical demonstrations are, anywhere from an hour, hour and a half to go through a lot of things. And so just as Dylan mentioned on the McCormick side, one-on-one demonstrations are great, not a hard pressure environment, just more of, hey, if this is something that can work, let's go through questions, show you the system and see how the fit is. Now, since I skimmed over payroll, makes sense, Jim, to take over, give an opportunity to talk about our payroll module and our payroll service that kind of brings everything together.
Perfect. Thank you, Garrett. Okay.
I'm moving you to the presenter, Jim.
Okay. You got my screen now?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So, yeah, what I'll do is, again, like these guys, very high-level overview. Payroll is a little more focused, so I should be able to get through this here pretty quickly, and that way we open it up at the end for questions, give everybody time to throw some questions out there. So, payroll for construction it's like an 80-peer paycheck. So, handling checks, direct deposits, city, state, federal, quarterly taxes, W-2s, ACA compliance stuff. At the very, the 10,000 foot overview, that's what we do at Payroll for Construction. But it's obviously not why we call ourselves Payroll for Construction. Construction payroll has a lot more to it than any other payroll out there. So we have foundation software. That's where we started 36 some odd years ago, is the accounting program Garrett's been showing you that we've continued to enhance and build upon today and add companies like McCormick. So about 16 years ago, because we were so strong at payroll and we noticed that we realized there really wasn't, anyone out there that could do payroll for contractors as well as we could. So there was a need for it in the market, both for our current foundation clients and for people who use QuickBooks or some other accounting system. Just like McCormick can work with other systems outside of foundation, so can Payroll for Construction. So we specialize in doing this in all 50 states. And what we really specialize in is the most complex construction payroll. As Garrett mentioned, union, government, prevailing wage, all those things that they come with difficulties in tracking and difficulties in reporting. So when construction payroll is done, or it's not just done when you're done paying the employees and taxes, there's a lot of this reporting and stuff that becomes very important as well. So I'm going to jump in real quick here. And again, you're going to kind of see that familiar face. Even our payroll only clients that just use our payroll service, when they log in, instead of seeing ADP paychecks or even Payroll for Construction, we really just grab that piece of the system, the GL job cost and payroll modules, and made it accessible online. So we have thousands of clients nationwide that use this in conjunction with the QuickBooks or some other accounting system, and we can push the data back to it. So one of the things that makes outsourcing payroll tough for contractors is that job side of things, job costing. You want somebody to take care of paying your employees and your taxes, but having that, profit and loss statements, being able to track things by job and cost code if necessary, you can't lose that information. You have to have that visibility. So being powered by Foundation allows our customers to be able to put in a job. And as Garrett had mentioned, we have tables that can be connected to prevailing wage jobs to help not just automate the back-end certified payroll reporting, but as you'll see here in a second, when I go to kind of edit some time cards, you'll see that I can control the union jurisdiction, the taxing jurisdiction, or even the prevailing wage rates and fringes on a per job basis. So what I'll do for time purposes is, getting time into either Foundation or Payroll for Construction, there are many different ways to do it. We have some of our clients that would just go in here and they would hand enter this stuff. Kind of Dylan said that they have multiple options there as well. So we have clients that would have just selected either by employee or job and simply entered the days, the jobs, cost code, or they can just default to general labor, and then regular versus overtime. Now, this here is identifying that these jobs were in different cities or states, so there's different taxing jurisdictions. This guy makes $11.50 an hour when he's not on prevailing wage, but jumps to $19 when he hits prevailing wage job or county 1, or $17.65 on county 3. If you were a union company, this would be reflecting union local numbers there. So one way to do it is to enter the time. Another way to do it is we have a mobile app ourselves. Both Foundation software and Payroll for Construction have an app where the employees in the field or supervisors, foremen in the field can actually enter the time for their employees. And then it syncs right into Foundation and Payroll for Construction, where, as you can see, these are blue. And just like Garrett was drilling down, I can still drill back into that line item for that time card, whether it was entered by you in the office or it came from the mobile app. And I can make edits to anything, the job, the date, the hours, the earning type, all those things can be done. So the other way to do it is if you're already on a mobile app and you're happy with the vendor and it's working for your field staff, as long as it can export a text, Excel, or CSV file, you can also upload that in here and make any edits and changes. So really the flow here is adding new jobs, getting time in, reviewing that time. Good thing about these reports, just like the Foundation ones, is they can be ran many different ways. So if I wanted to know right now who was on the Lakewood Rec job this week or how many hours we had this week, I'd be able to just change that report to filter by job. Instead of by employee, where it looks very similar. Key difference now is we're seeing hours by job. So I can run these reports for day, week, month, year. I can print them PDF, Word, Excel, or CSV. So, getting these reports formatted the way you want, and then also saved the way you want, and kind of put over in a quick links menu there for you. Some companies come to me and there's one payroll person. Others have multiple people. You can have multiple people in here at the same time, just like you can McCormick and Foundation. And then, of course, you can define roles as to who can see what, who can do what, so you can keep your payroll secure. Now, there's other things you can look at and check before payroll's done, like if you want to see what your tax liability is going to be or what paychecks are going to look like, you're going to be able to come in here and see that stuff as well. Okay, this here, again, if you were a Foundation client, this may say post, meaning you want to handle your own payroll, your own taxes. You absolutely have the capability to do that through Foundation. If you wanted to outsource it, that submit button would be what let us know that your payroll was in and done. We would step in, do the checks, direct deposits, the taxes, the quarterlies and W-2s, and then you would be left with, being able to upload this data, both general ledger and job costing information, to QuickBooks or to some Sage product, some other accounting system, and then the reporting, things like workers' comp report, where we do a very good job. Sometimes workers' comp can be controlled based on what the employee's doing. So as the employee identifies not just where they were working, but what they were doing, putting them in the right workers' comp categories can be handled very easily. Also in construction, there's oftentimes caps for workers' comp. Sometimes it's per class, sometimes per employee, or more commonly, per earn type. So being able to break out, well, here's what I paid Arthur for these 2 hours of overtime, but this is reflecting here that I only had to report it on the straight portion, not that 0.5 extra. So workers' comp reporting, some companies need, EEO, minority compliance reporting, where, as you can see in here too, these terms certified payroll can be very generic sometimes. You're going to see when I go in, there are so many different agencies and formats and different ways they want it, though it's all pretty much the same information. It's just very important to put it on what form or what website they want you to put it on. So those types of things we stay up to date with, because from McCormick, the Foundation, the Payroll for Construction, every company that we work with focuses exclusively on the construction industry. So keeping these forms updated, keeping the system evolving with new feature sets that help contractors is what we do. So for time purposes, I'm not going to click on all these formats, but as you can see, just these things change year to year, sometimes multiple times in a year. So we're constantly adding in new formats that you can run with the click of a button. So on that job record, what you can do is check the box for certified payroll. The other thing about Foundation and Payroll for Construction is it's very forgiving, meaning no matter how perfect our end users are, how perfect the system is, we know that there's going to be mistakes, especially with payroll when you're relying on, field employees to pass you along time in an accurate and timely fashion. It just doesn't happen. So even if a job wasn't checked for certified, you could go check it a week, month, year in, all the certifieds would be there from day one, including no work performed. And same goes for if you realize after payroll that somebody was shorted hours, or Bob said he was on job 1, but you found out it was job 2. Again, that can change things from job costing, of course, to taxing jurisdictions, to pay rates, certified payroll, all that stuff. So you'll be able to run these reports, print, sign, and send, or more commonly what we're starting to see is having to go to a website. So, if we can give you this report, but somebody still has to go hand key that into a website, just a lot of chance for error, and it's very time consuming. So being able to upload to any of these different agencies out there, you'd be able to come in here and click, pop in here, put in a date range, and then, label the file because you're going to save it on your end. And then this doesn't look like anything, that you can really make out or read, but the point is when you hit close, create the file, you'd be able to say yes, go to that website, and hit upload from Foundation software. Lastly, you're getting all the job costing, as far as payroll is related to You're getting all that, and we can push that back to your accounting system. And then if you were a union contractor and needed a union report, you'd have that ability to come in here, and you'd be able to see for your company, the date, the union, per employee, their hours for the month with totals, their gross with totals, total into each benefit. And then as I click this arrow, we're still on the Carpenter's Local 6, but it's letting me know the check or checks that we need to cut. So what I'll do to summarize it up before we open it up here for questions is just real quick summary recap, I should say. So Foundation is going to be the full job cost accounting project management system, that you can, of course, do payroll in-house. Whereas Payroll for Construction is going to be that standalone payroll service that you could use alongside a Foundation, or you could use it by itself in conjunction with any other accounting system out there. McCormick's going to be your estimating takeoff that integrates with Foundation, also other accounting systems as well. So we do a very good job here of, we want you to have the best of breed, the right products for you. If all three of our products are that fit, that's fantastic. If, there's a better fit for you on accounting, estimating, or payroll, but you like one of our other products, we do a good job of integrating these and working with you to keep you rolling with the best of breeds. So again, all can be ran separately, all can be integrated together. All three are accessible online, supported by us, and built just for contractors. So with that being said, there was one question that came up earlier, but it sounded like you were getting into it, Dylan, but I'll throw it out there just so you can recap it real quick. And then that gives anybody else who has questions time to type it in here before we let you go. Somebody asked how our database is updated and how do costs get updated?
Yeah, thanks, Jim. So yeah, we do have some different databases, right? We have the plumbing and mechanical, which is one database. We have an electrical, which is all encompassing of all types of electrical work, and then we have like a low voltage special systems only electrical database. But many ways to manage material pricing in McCormick. One way to do it is with a pricing service. So on the electrical side, it's net pricer and trade service, and then on the plumbing mechanical side, it's trade service and Harrison. That's an additional subscription. It's an add-on. The ability to use a pricing service is built into McCormick, but requires an add-on subscription. Again, that's one way to do it. If you want your database automatically updated, they'll update it automatically with usually like an average market price, and they can even link up directly to suppliers. So on a job-to-job basis, if I'm linked up to a supplier or multiple suppliers, I can hit a button in the extension portion of McCormick and get a live supplier price update with the click of a button. We can even compare supplier pricing side by side and cherry pick. So that's the best way to do it. If you don't want to subscribe to a pricing service, there's other ways. We can import or update pricing in McCormick off of Excel. Some of our users get a file directly from their suppliers, and we're just able to upload that into the system. So then your pricing is your supplier's price, and the pricing is as good as the last file you ran. On top of that, the database becomes your database. Some people have a person that keeps it, in-house, that keeps that pricing up to date. Remember that everything is shared. It's a true network, true multi-user system. The database is shared, so we're only managing one database. Some people spot check pricing job to job in the extension. So many ways to do it. Essentially, we can do it any way that's available. It's up to you as a customer.
Thanks, Dylan.
Sure.
Okay, looks like that's about it for questions here, so pretty thorough job. Okay. All right, well, I'll tell you what. I want to thank everybody for their time today. Appreciate you giving us the opportunity. There's all of our contact information there. If anybody wants to take a deeper dive and, learn any more about any of the products, feel free to email, call us. As Garrett said, we take a very, laid back approach, with the sales process. We know it's about the right fit, but also the right time. So again, thank you, everybody, and everybody have a great rest of the day.